Welcome to Election Speakout. The Committee to Restore Districts expresses our thanks to MetroEast for the opportunity to inform Gresham residents about Measure 26-141, Mayor at Large, Councilors by District. Gresham, with a population of 107,000 residents, has become a large, diverse community. The larger and more diverse we grow, the more important and the more difficult it becomes for citizen councilors to identify concerns in areas within the city. Requiring the city councilors to live in the district they represent is really a simple concept, but it has far-reaching and profound effects. I'm Chuck Becker, former city councilor and Gresham mayor, and professor emeritus, Portland State University. With me is Jack Ardner, who is chair of the Committee to Restore Districts and a retired federal government employee with 35 years of service. Both of us are long-term Gresham citizens. What is Measure 26-141? It would change how the city councilors are elected. Measure 26-141 would do three things: establish 6 districts of equal population. 2, require councilors to live in their district. 3, only voters who live within the district would vote for the councilor. Measure 26-141 is not a measure to maintain the status quo. Electing councilors by district would balance representation throughout the city and open the doors of opportunity for users and citizens with critical issues that cover the entire city but also reach within their own area that they live. Jack, what promised the grassroots effort to change the way the Gresham City Councilors are elected?
This is a great story. It really is. It began when the Gresham Charter Review Commission chose to not recommend dealing with districts for councilors and putting it on the ballot last May. A citizens group was formed and, following the Oregon statutes, provided an initiative petition to the city. It was approved by the city for gathering signatures, and in the process, we were required to have 1,400 signatures to make it valid. At the time, we were told nobody's interested in this subject. It's amazing. When we went out to gather signatures, we found that people were willing to sign when they were approached. We found that they would have a reaction, and we showed them a map that showed the population of the city by neighborhood, and we showed them another map on this side that shows where the councilors live. And when they saw those two maps, they would react, well, isn't this the way it should be? Isn't this the way we do it now? And of course we had to say no, we elect councilors by position.
You had a real mismatch then between representation and where councilors actually live today.
And that's what was showing on that map.
Did you use paid petitioners for gathering these signatures in such a rapid way?
No, we did not. We did not. In the process, though, we were quite successful in getting the signatures necessary and putting this measure then on the ballot for November.
So the petition ended up actually developing a ballot measure for voters to vote on.
That's correct.
I understand that, you know, this has some requirements in it. What actually does it require as far as voting districts?
Well, this is a tool that, if the voters approve it, this is a tool that the city council would use to establish 6 districts of equal population throughout the city, covering the whole city. It would be established under the rules and guidelines that the city council would provide, and it would have to meet federal, state, county regulations and laws.
Very good.
The final say on it, the final approval of where the boundaries are, is all done by the city council.
By the city council. Then, you know, it's also been said that Measure 26-141, if passed, would give voters fewer choices to vote. Is this true?
No, it is not true. In fact, that's an urban myth. The reality is, from the earliest days of our Constitution, representative government was established with federal representatives, and the principle of one person, one vote was clearly established. This is then shown, and we see it today. Moving forward in history, we see it today at the federal level, at the state level, at the county level, and even some smaller areas within the county. They all have voting districts. It is very common. But speaking of choices to vote, let me talk just a minute about the 2010 election.
Okay.
In the 2010 election, there were 3 councilors up for election. 2 of those races were contested. One of them had no other applicant. The mayor also had no opposition. So in looking at the voting data from the county, something was really clear. I found that when voters actually submitted their ballot to the county, that 36% of those voters chose not to make a mark for either one or the 2 of the candidates at all.
Wow.
And where it's uncontested, that number jumped up to 45%.
Wow.
45%. So that
really shows a disengagement with the public, and some apathy, and definitely apathy within the interest of governance in the city of Gresham. If we don't have any applicants, and if the voters themselves choose not to express the right to vote, that's pretty bad. That's pretty outstanding. If, you know, and when we come to that, it's really important, I think, that we recognize if people who did not vote for a counselor because they didn't feel that they had a choice, or there wasn't a choice presented for them with either one or the other, this really shows that they need to support and vote for Measure 26-141, because Measure 26-141 would encourage people to become more involved, because they would have a counselor in their own district that they could converse with and have that information brought forth to the council, where the council could have a conversation amongst themselves in the best interest of the district and also of the entire city. This is great, Jack, but I also see that there's some comments out there that have been passed by that this is really a divisive measure. Do you see it as a divisive measure?
Well, as I described earlier, this is simply a tool that we would provide to the city council, a tool which they would implement. They would be in control. What really is divisive, though, is some of the things that we ran into along the way. During the signature gathering process that was provided for under our state constitution, that citizens can petition their government, the city council chose to issue a resolution, number 3103, encouraging citizens not to sign this.
Oh, my.
They issued a letter, a Dear Neighbor letter, saying that there was a risk of gerrymandering and divisiveness. And we scratched our head and wondered what that was about. Are they really saying that if they had this tool, that they would implement it in such a way that they would gerrymander the city or cause it to be divisive?
Wow.
This is really strange. But then just 2 weeks ago, the mayor on his website and on his page indicated that this petition, which is now a measure for the people to vote on, he called it a distraction.
Well, I don't think it's a distraction. I think this is an opportunity for people to step up and be heard and listened to. With all of this measure and the divisiveness claim, who then is really opposed to this measure? I don't see the citizens as being opposed. Is there something else that I don't see?
Currently, the mayor and a majority of the councilors have formally gone on record as opposing this measure through that. In addition to that, many or several community business leaders and other community leaders have expressed opposition. They seem to prefer the status quo, where the majority of people on the council live in just a small area. This is really not the vision that we have. This measure has a different vision, one of equal representation with districts of equal population, counselors living in the district, and people being able to know their counselor and to communicate with them and to participate in democracy.
I think I saw a map, and maybe it's one that you presented earlier when we started, and that is that of the 6 counselors, they live in 4 neighborhoods. That leaves 12 neighborhoods unrepresented in the city. This has been interesting, Jack, and I think what we want to do is we kind of summarize this, and maybe I can go into a closing statement. And let's say that there are many ways to elect city councilors. Small cities practice at large because they're small, they know their people, they're maybe even their neighbors that are candidates for these positions. Larger cities prefer the election of city councilors by district. Gresham is a large city, and it's continuing to grow, and it's going to get larger, and we want to ensure the citizens that they are provided with an equal voice, equal representation, transparency in governments, and accountability. Measure 2141, I think, is this simple measure that is going to provide these profound results or outcomes. Measure 26141 points the power of the vote to the people. People have a vote, one person, one vote. Last year, I think what is important here is we need to have the people voice their vote, present their voice, present their vote, and make sure that Measure 26141 passes. I think that what they will have is they will have equal voice, equal representation, transparency, and they will have accountability because they will know who their counselors are and to whom they may go. Jack, this has been great. Thanks very much for the opportunity, and thanks for the viewers for listening to our presentation.